All right, we are back with another edition of the Friday FARcast. I'm Robert Phoenix, and doubled up here in terms of wearables because it's chilly, and I've got my two cats on me who are also trying to stay warm. So I love the seasonal break. I love the seasons. I love the fact that we're getting some cold weather here, and we're going to have a really really warm conversation with JJ Reine De Blanc. You'll see her name up here as JJ Sharp. And JJ's got a new memoir out, Backwards Time. And so we're going to be talking about that, what it's like to write a memoir, go back through her personal history, but we'll also be talking about her present and current history as well. She's an artisan and a craftsperson, and I have a wearer of her jewelry. Not only that, but Joan has a number of her pieces, beautiful pieces, always gets compliments on them. So there's going to be plenty to talk about, and probably a lot of it will focus on the creative process. And that's one of the things that really feels like it gets lost in the sauce now. And people are creative, I think, in general, right? But there was a time where creating art was, and not everybody's really great at it, right? But there was a time when creating art was something to aspire towards, and that art and beauty and creativity, the things that make us really marvel, whether it's something like Citizen Kane, or Guernica, or even like a Maxfield Parrish painting, which takes you to like another, kind of maybe Tartaria with color, right? Like these are the things that move us and inspire us. And we live in a time where everything is digitized, zeros and ones, and everything seems to be very binary, and it all just feels like a hustle and a game, and kind of a bad sideshow at times. So when we have the ability to touch in with creativity and imagination and people that bring that to the world, it's like really having a contact with soul. And so I'm really looking forward to our conversation today because a lot of times we'll get into the nitty gritty and break shit down and decode and um, you know have a reflection of just how venal and corrupt and degraded this current version of the world is. So sometimes it's really good to balance things out and have a different perspective. And I hope today we achieve that. Uh, let's talk about a sponsor of the show. We have two of them here. Today we're gonna talk about, or at least right now, we're gonna talk about Silver Botanicals. And I've been raving about Silver Botanicals for a while. And there are people who have actually purchased the products and have been more than pleasantly surprised. And we have a special deal here where if you get the bundle, it's the 11th, it's the Astro Weather bundle. You get all these great products for $75, and normally it's $93.95. So you're getting a pretty good savings there. And not only that, but you're getting an introduction to how these products can improve your life. So what we're talking about is a combination of nanified silver, right, which is really great stuff for cleansing and taking care of bacteria and mold, and it's one of the best things that quote unquote modern science has stumbled upon. That is, and it's just an incredibly efficient tool when it comes to being a very powerful cleansing agent, right? So we have that. That's a baseline, and then what they do is they get all of these essential oils from all over the world. And I've been to their very small operation in San Marcos. I've seen the barrels of the essential oils. They get them from Egypt, from France, from Spain, Italy, Romania, wherever they have to get the oils. That's where they'll go. Well, they won't go there, but that's where they come from. And so what you're getting here is you're getting the oil care, which is fantastic. The silver sanitizer gel, which I use on my countertops, and it works incredibly well. You're getting the roll-on deodorant. You're getting the C serum for your skin. You're getting the Silver Shield soap. You're getting the foot guard, which is great. What else am I leaving out here? Oh yeah, the Silver Tongue oral care. So you're getting all this great stuff for $75, and there's a link that is listed in the show notes. And if you go there, I'll tell you got to do. You also get 10% off. And Astro Weather, right? Just Astro Weather. That's your code, Astro-Weather. If you go into the website, anything you buy, you get 10% off. If you just want to try the silver serum, you can do that. Just type that in, and boom, you get 10% off that product. So I urge you to experiment and expand your wellness and your health care, and for your body and for your household. This is a really great sponsor, and I'm happy to have them on board. Okay, why don't we bring JJ on, and let's get into this. JJ, what's happening?
Hey, Robert. Hello, everybody. How you doing?
It's good to have you on the show, and it's going to be great to talk about imagination and the creative process and how important it is. And you have a magazine style blog where you interview and highlight other artists, which I think is really, really important. What's that been like for you? Because you obviously are an extremely skilled jeweler and craftsperson, but what's it like for you to plunge into that world and explore other people's creativity?
It's been really great, actually. It's really rewarding for me because when I lived in New York, I'm a very introverted person. They'll put that out there right now. So it's always interesting for me to try to come onto these shows. But when I lived in New York, I was constantly talking to people because I worked in sales. I worked in high-end retail sales with furniture and home goods and textiles and things like that. So although I was very introverted, it forced me to constantly talk to people. And throughout all those conversations, I met a lot of really fascinating people, and in particular artists of all kinds, musicians and writers and actors. And I really enjoyed those conversations. And then, when the pandemic hit, by then I actually had moved up to Cape Cod by serendipitous circumstances just before COVID hit. And it was very isolating because I was way out on the tip near P-Town. It was wonderful, but it was a very kind of lonely, isolated time because there was no one coming. And I often found myself on the beach completely alone for just months. I would go every day and there'd be just no one. So I started missing those conversations with other people and artists. And I think I moved to Chicago, and I was really just craving that kind of interaction again. And I thought I had created a separate page on my Instagram because I was being hacked so many times. I used a backup, and I started using it to post artwork and fashion and just different things to do with art. And I thought, why don't I just use that to start featuring other artists' work, because there's so many great artists out there that just never get seen, and they don't have the support, and they're struggling like I was. So I thought, maybe I can do something with that. So I started up the Muse Memorandum, and initially it was doing interviews
Right.
via
You,
YouTube.
you interviewed me actually
Yeah.
too.
You were one of the very last ones, I think. It just became, it was too much on me. It's a lot of, I don't know how you do it all the time. I think you're well used to it, but for me, it just felt, because I have health issues, that it was really draining on me energetically, and just, it was tough. So I felt like I should try to go back to more of a blog style interview. And eventually I did, I worked it out so that I could do these sort of magazine Q&A interviews with people. And it's been great. And actually I was kind of nervous because a lot of people want to be on video. But a lot don't. And I've had really great feedback from all the artists saying they really enjoyed this kind of process. So it's worked well.
Yeah, I would say most artists tend to be more introverted than extroverted. Although every now and then you'll run across somebody who is very extroverted and uses their extroversion to promote their art. Are you familiar with the writer Norman Mailer?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Norman was no shrinking flower, right?
No.
He was more than happy to mix it up with people in many ways, more than just one. So I'm really curious, when you were doing sales in New York and you ran across some of these people, actors or like, did you run across like an actor or celebrity that people would know that was like really super cool?
Super cool.
Or,
I
at the very least human that you could relate to?
I'm trying to think of someone. Susan Sarandon was surprisingly lovely. She was super down to earth. I dealt with a lot of celebrities while I worked there at a couple of different jobs. And I mean, I dealt very closely with Russell Brand and Katy Perry when they were married. And
What was that? What was that like?
oh my goodness, they were actually very nice. I initially met Russell and his manager or assistant, whatever it is, I don't know, but I met them initially, and Russell was actually very nice to me. I thought he was going to be some kind of, you know, sexist jerk, but he was very warm and polite and just easy to talk to. And his assistant Tom was really lovely too. And then I think a couple of weeks later, I had met with Katy Perry. Her manager Tamara set up a meeting between us because Katy wanted to go shopping too. They were moving into a new apartment in Tribeca, and they wanted to furnish the place as a married couple. So I was helping them pick out all kinds of, you know, sofas and huge dining tables, and down to like little lamps and pillows and stuff like that. So the whole team was really lovely to me. It was interesting. I was surprised.
Yeah, he can be very charming.
Yeah.
Very charming.
It's very interesting for me to see how things have evolved for both of them over the last several years. I think it was 2011 or so. It's somewhere in between 2011 and 2013 when I was dealing with them. Mm-hmm. And so I think Firework had just come out for Katy Perry, and that was like her big, it really launched her to another level. Mm-hmm. So it's been pretty interesting to watch how those two have both, you know, gone off on their own paths and where they're at now.
Right. I'm familiar with their astrological charts.
I bet.
And they're very different people. Very. Katy Perry has a cluster chart, which is pretty rare with astrology. Like all of her planets are between the 12th and the second house. I mean, that's it, right? Like she's somebody who is pretty mono-focused on one thing, right? And the one thing is her and her expression and her career and money and whatever's going on behind the scenes with her 12th house, right? And then Russell's chart, Russell Brand has a really serious astrological chart. And there was a period of time where it's like, I liked him and he was really funny, kind of devil may care personality. But it was also like, why is this guy so fucking smart and articulate and glib and it's like, it's like I'm a little jealous of this guy, right? On some level. Let me check out his chart. And I looked at his chart. I'm like, oh wow, I can see why this whole thing with him and spirituality, like it's very real. It's not an act. Like it's in his chart. He has Neptune conjunct his midheaven, and Neptune is in his 9th house, and it's very close to his midheaven. And he is aspiring to be a mystic and a spiritual teacher in this lifetime. Given what we know about his past, you would think, does that fit? And it's like, yeah, because a lot of times very spiritual people start off in very strange places, and they can have a change of heart, or change of mind, and change of spirit. And so I think a lot of times what you get, not all the time, because there's parts of them that's still kind of a magician, wizard, a little bit of, of a promoter, self-promoter. Mm-hmm. But I would say his aspiration is real, and you can see it in his chart.
He seemed like a very sincere person to me, oddly. I was very taken aback by that.
Yeah. And Susan Sarandon, always been a fan. Did you run into Tim Robbins while she was there?
I don't believe so. I don't remember him being around. She was shopping for her daughter.
Can we gossip about any assholes?
Oh my gosh. Well, I met Frances McDormand.
Right.
And
the actress, right?
Fargo, and yeah. She was not very pleasant that day, at least.
She seems like a hard person. Seriously. She's got a hard vibe about her.
She was definitely hard the day that I met her. She was just really not pleasant. It was interesting, though, because a lot of the celebrities were pretty kind and polite and all that. I didn't have too many assholes.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, thankfully.
So she is the first day of Cancer. So she's moody. She can be moody and very taciturn.
I could see that.
Yeah. So
Catherine Keener was very nice too.
I like her.
I liked her too. She made sure to get all my information. She's like, "You're on commission, right?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Oh, I'm going to make sure to come back to you." And she did.
She was in that movie, Three Kings. You ever see that with Mark Wahlberg and George Clooney?
I don't think I did see that one.
It was directed by Spike Jonze, who's also in the movie. And she plays a war correspondent, and she's fantastic.
Yeah, she's a great actress.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting little sort of dose of life, rubbing shoulders with the glitterati, right?
Oh, it was very weird. It started for me when I lived in Seattle. I met, what's her name? Victoria Beckham, when she was just starting out. And that was my first celebrity. And I was working at Z Gallery at the time. I don't even know if those exist anymore, but they're kind of.
I remember that. I remember them. I remember the Z Galleries.
It's kind of like a Crate and Barrel.
Yeah, kind of an artsy Crate and Barrel. Yeah, so that was before she got all of her work done, right?
Yeah, she still had this short, dark brown hair and was just very timid. She came off as timid anyway. Then I don't know if she really was, but she's.
Well, I mean, you look at something like the Spice Girls, which was a total creation, right?
Right.
And she's like one of what were there 5 Spice Girls?
I think so.
And yeah, I think there were 5 of them, and it's like trying to figure out who your identity is in kind of this made up group with these other women who share the collective identity of the group. I would say being timid would be, you'd either be really timid or like, hey, I'm a fucking Spice Girl, right?
Yeah.
One of the two. That's interesting. So and then you went from all of that to just desolation. And I think that's when we met, was when you were on the island, right? I mean, we didn't meet on the island, but that's when I got to know you.
Yeah, it was around that time. I had
Yeah.
been following your work since I think maybe 2017 or 18, something like that.
So, and then how was Chicago for you? Because I remember we were doing a relocation thing, and at that time, Chicago felt just like really edgy and dangerous. But then I went there last year, and I thought, at least the areas that I was in, it was a lovely city and lovely people, and I really enjoyed hanging out there. So you went from nothing, well, it was nothing, but you went from being very isolated to all of a sudden being thrown into this big metropolis, but very different than New York.
Oh, very different. Yeah, it has quite a different energy to it, especially with the lake there that's almost like an ocean. It's so big.
It really is big, and it felt like people were very real there, right? Not that people
Yeah.
aren't real in New York. People are very real in New York, but in a different kind of way, like a little more accessible. Was that your experience?
Yeah. I mean, I really was still very much a hermit there. I didn't go out too much, but because I was really focusing on my work, and I had moved into this wonderful, really big apartment and was just really focusing on my work. But when I did go out and meet people, they were all pretty much very personable.
Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't that kind of standoffishness that you might have in New York. Although I was very used to that because I grew up in New Jersey and I spent a lot of time back and forth in New York, and then I ended up living there for quite some time. So I was used to that vibe and understood it well. But I could notice a big difference in Chicago with the way people interacted.
Yeah, and people that are born in Chicago and live there, they generally tend to stay there.
Yeah,
And
that is true.
yeah,
I think anyone I've known is just, even if they left for a while to go to school or whatever, they usually come back.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
a nice place.
And it's got that kind of rootsy vibe to it. Where in New Jersey did you grow up?
Oh, I grew up out near the Delaware Water Gap in Morris County in Bud Lake,
Okay,
which
all
is
right.
it's a little town in Mount Olive Township. So it's
Mhm.
northwest, almost near Pennsylvania.
What was that like for you? Because obviously you're on the introverted side, and you're creative and artistic and pretty sensitive. So what was your childhood like? We'll get into this. We're going to kind of get into your memoir now.
Okay.
What was your childhood like? And did you feel like it was an environment that you could kind of sprout in, or did you feel like you were a bit of a fish out of water?
Well, I've always felt a little bit like a fish out of water since I can remember. I didn't
Mhm.
really always fit in with people. Um, but it was a very good childhood overall. I mean, I definitely, my parents are still together for 60 some odd years, and we were in the same house for me growing up the whole time. So it was a nice, stable environment and good school system. And where I wasn't living right on Bud Lake, but about a mile away, we had a view of the lake. And it was really on the edge of uh, suburbia. It kind of was moving towards rural.
Right,
And because there
right.
was a lot of forest land still, it was pretty undeveloped. And the neighborhood I grew up in was actually a new development when my folks purchased the land and built a house there. So it was very idyllic. It was quiet, crickets at night, and full sky of stars, and it felt safe. It felt safe to go out. People left their doors unlocked, and kids just had the run of the neighborhood, and it was fun for the most part, except for my nighttime stuff, which was really weird. But I had a really good, kind of happy, had what I needed childhood.
So that's I mean, I obviously I work with people and talk about their lives and their charts. I would say 80% of the people that I have those conversations with have had very challenging upbringings. Either divorced parents or lots of moves and stories of abandonment, right? So you're one of the fortunate ones. Now, I've never asked you this question before. Do you have any siblings?
I have an older brother. He's 7 years older than me. He lives in the Carolinas with his family.
So it's almost like you didn't quite grow up as an only child, but very
Not quite.
but very, very different in terms of age gap. That's
right.
7 years, a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually not expected.
You were the little miracle child.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did you figure out that you wanted to be an artist?
Oh, it's always been with me. I never had any. I would say like the only other interest I had as a kid was maybe to become a veterinarian or maybe an archaeologist. I had these funny little other things I might consider, but overall, I really just wanted to be an artist. And I had always been either drawing with crayons or pencils or whatever I could get my hands on since I can remember, basically.
Did you go to school and formally study art?
I did. I went to Savannah College of Art and Design for a couple of years, and then I transferred to Montclair State University in New Jersey. Savannah, Georgia is
right. Yeah.
Yeah. And
which is a cool place, by the way.
Oh, it really is. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
For the most part, it was really nice. It's a beautiful place with all the square, the park squares and the Spanish moss and all the old buildings. It's beautiful.
It feels very much like the South.
Yeah. Yeah. And the people are very Southern.
Yeah. I almost got arrested there one night.
Oh my goodness.
It was hairy, man. It was a hairy moment. Yeah. Do you want to hear about it?
Yeah.
So I was driving around the country during the summer of '96 doing tarot readings. It was like my on the road Jack Kerouac moment. It was me and my dog and my van. It was the man in the van. And so I would go to these places. I'd figured out how to do a setup and do tarot readings on like street corners and in front of businesses, right? Usually I would get their permission. And so it was a Sunday morning in Savannah. And I had been at the Olympics and they just had the bombing at the Olympics. And I decided to leave because it just felt weird. And so the bombing happened on Friday. I left on Saturday, and all these people told me, "Oh, you should go to Savannah. Go to Savannah, check it out." So I went there, and I stationed my little table in front of a business that was closed. It was closed on Sundays, but there was another business next to it that was open. And I probably should have gone there, even though I wasn't like in front of their business, right? And they had people, down there by the water, they have like people playing trumpet and doing sketches really and shit like that. And I thought, well, I'll fit right in here, right? So it was a Sunday morning and I'm just killing it. I'm making money. I'm feeling on. I'm like, man, I like this place, right? And maybe about an hour into it, maybe an hour and a half into it, the cops show up. Oh, gosh. And they say, you can't be here. I'm like, why not? So you just can't be here. I said, well, what about those people? And I'm pointing to, the trumpet player, the sketcher. Yeah. I'm like, they're here. I said, well, that's different. I'm like, do I want to get into a beef with these cops, right? I'm like, okay, fine. So I kind of wanted to stay because I really liked the vibe. And so I kind of kicked around that day. I'm looking for another place to hang out and do my thing and not get harassed. And on Monday night, the following night, this is during the Olympics, and they were doing like the Olympic boating racing down there. And they had a concert, like an oldies concert, like the Floaters and all these oldies groups. And I knew the concert was ending. So I was in the exact same place because I thought it was a good place, but everything was closed. It was at night, right? And I'm just waiting for the people to come out of the concert and thinking, hey, I might, catch a few people here. And then all of a sudden, it's me and my dog is next to me. He's a pretty good sized dog, not huge, but, large enough to get the cops to notice, right? So it was the same cop. It was this black dude, and he was with some other guy who was plain clothes. And they're coming towards me, and they're on a mission.
Oh my God.
And I hear the one guy say to the plainclothes guy say to the cop, I'll take care of the dog.
Oh my gosh.
I overhear that. And I'm like, hey, hold on. There's nobody here. There's nobody here. Everything is closed. And the cop says, I told you not to be here.
Oh my God.
Right? And then I must have had an angel looking after me because all of a sudden they got a call.
Oh.
And the cop says to me, you don't know how lucky you are. I said, oh, yes, I do. So they had to leave. And they had to leave and go take care of a real criminal, right?
Right.
And I'm like, I'm getting fucking out of here. and I didn't stop till I got to Tallahassee.
Wow.
So I think just thinking about what could have happened, me being in a Southern jail, who knows what happens to my dog? My van is impounded, right? Like it could have been a real bad scene.
Yeah, you got lucky for sure.
I definitely got lucky. So I avoided being arrested in Savannah. But even with that, it's still a lovely place and I would go back.
Yeah.
So
I haven't been back in years, but I'm sure it's got still a lot of its Southern charm going on.
Yeah. So now you're in Arizona, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in the burbs of Phoenix, living in a retirement community somehow. It's very odd for me, but it totally fits my weirdness. So I'm okay with it. I don't have a car. I use a golf cart to get around because that's the way you get around here. So
Right. Yeah. Well, that's kind of cool. Do you like Arizona?
So far, yeah, I love it. It's actually like I had always thought of it as the last place I'd ever want to live. Years ago, when my folks moved out here 30 years ago, my mom was trying to convince me to move to Phoenix. And I came to visit and they took me to Phoenix and I was like, there's nothing here. Like, what am I going to do here? She's like, oh, but the rent is so cheap. I'm like, that's great, but there's just nothing happening for me. I felt, I was too young at the time. Just didn't feel like it was going to work for me. And I really do not like heat. I do not do well in hot weather. And so I've always had that idea like, it's fine to visit. I really enjoy visiting my folks, but I don't want to deal with the heat. And then it became really apparent that they needed some help.
Right.
And I'm always like a nomad, and I kind of really wanted to get out of Chicago because it was getting kind of dangerous. Like I was living in Rogers Park, which is a really nice area, but it was starting to get really sketchy within the 2 years I was there. A lot of shootings just at the park a block away from me and at the train station a couple blocks away. And I was getting nervous with the way things were moving with the country. So I thought, maybe I'll see if I can move out here to help my folks and just get out of the big cities for once and for all, because I've lived in New York, Seattle, and Chicago. Those are the biggest.
What was your experience and take on Seattle? Because I lived there as well. Maybe we can compare some notes there.
I was there for nearly 5 years, and I felt stuck there. Like as soon as I moved there, I went with my ex-boyfriend, who's a cartoonist, and he got an in-house job out there at a publishing company. And we drove cross country with a friend of his. And when we pulled into Seattle, it was December, and it was sunny, but there was a storm along the way, a snowstorm in the mountain passes. And when we arrived, I was like, oh my gosh, what the heck did I just do? I felt like I moved to the moon. I felt really just completely on another planet. And it was hard for me to get used to, but eventually I did make some friends, and I had some okay jobs, and there were some things that were really likable about it, with the coffee and the shopping and the restaurants, and it had its charm, and the weather was good, at least in the summer.
Right.
But
in the wintertime, it is dark.
I struggled with that.
Yeah, really.
The next year into the winter and those dark months, I had a really difficult time, and it only got worse. I felt like I couldn't even get up. Like I actually ended up having a job where I could work 4 days in a row and get 3 days off. And when I was off, it would take me till afternoon to get up off the couch. I'd have a full pot of coffee, just drinking coffee to try to have energy. I felt like I was just being drained there. And everyone I met from the East Coast that had moved out there felt the same, and everyone ended up leaving. We all moved away.
Seattle's one of those places. If you go to Seattle on a nice day, you're like, holy shit, this place is amazing.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. And which I did prior to moving there. Like I went there for the first time in 86. You get up there on Cap Hill, and like you're looking down over everything in the Puget Sound, like, wow, look at this place, right? And I just remembered that, and I moved there 3 years later in 89. And I had a very different experience. It wasn't, I wouldn't really call it pleasant. But then again, I was going through my Saturn return. Which neighborhood did you live in?
I lived in, when I first got there, I lived up north a bit. I forget the name of the lake that's up there.
It's called Green Lake.
Yeah. We lived there for a short time, and then moved to the University Village area.
Yeah.
And then to Capitol Hill.
Right. Cap Hill was the cool place.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. I lived near Green Lake. That was where I lived. It was okay. My experience with Seattle, people were polite but cold. There are people, there's a term for it. People that are not from Seattle experience that. They call it the Seattle freeze.
Oh, I have not heard of that. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I had that experience too. I almost felt like people were flaky. Like they'd make plans and then, or just be really nice, and then they'd just kind of ghost you. And it wasn't just me. All of my other friends noticed it too. And I'm not, whatever. I think not everyone is like that everywhere, but that's what I experienced. So that freeze thing makes sense to me.
What years were you there?
I was there from 95 to the summer of 2000.
Right. Yeah. So I got there right when grunge was happening. I mean, seriously, like Andy Wood of Mother Love Bone. Mother Love Bone was like the band.
I remember.
They were on Enemy, not Enemy. The Rocket, I think it was called The Rocket, which was their local music mag. They were on the cover like every 3 or 4 weeks, right? And they were going to be the band, and then Andy Wood ODs on heroin, and that band eventually becomes Pearl Jam. right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was there right when grunge was happening, and it was very interesting to see that take shape. It was the first time I felt old. Yeah,
Yeah, I did catch some of, I mean, it was a bit later, but it still was kind of going on then. And
yeah,
I did meet Eddie Vedder and his wife when I was working at the antique store
yeah,
in Capitol Hill. So that was interesting.
yeah. Eddie. Funny. So what moved you to write a memoir?
Oh boy. Well, I've had so many oddball experiences for most of my life. And every time I would tell a story to someone, they'd be like, "You should write a book." And I would just laugh, like, "Yeah, whatever. I'm not." I used to enjoy writing as a kid, but it kind of tapered off when I got into other art directions. And I kept hearing it again more recently. And then I was telling a story. I was having dinner with my mom and dad at their house one night and was telling them something I guess I had never told them before. And my mom was like, "You should write a book." And I was like, "All right, I'm going to try to write this book." And it's an unusual book. I mean, it isn't a memoir, but it has a lot of different things in it because I have a little bit of history. Like I give the history of Bud Lake and how it ties in a little bit to my genealogy. And uh, there's just different topics in there, but they do tie into my life and my experience.
Right, right. So you ready to take a little trip back into time?
Sure. Sure.
There used to be this show called "This Is Your Life."
Yes.
Remember that show?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I actually watched it when it was on, but I know about it.
They'd actually bring people onto the show who were a part of that person's life, and they'd have stories. So, JJ Sharp, this is your life.
Oh, God.
Let's get into it.
Okay.
All right. So, this is a picture of a very young version of you. Look at that.
Yep.
Wow. That's a lovely picture.
I think it's really interesting. I love the weird sort of Whoville little bonnet thing or whatever it is. And
Yeah.
my face, because I've always been a face maker. My whole life I've just been very like expressive with my face. So that kind of says it all. Like, oh, what am I doing here?
Your mother looks like it's a cross between adoration and like, who the fuck is this little girl? Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very dear. It's a very dear picture. Who took it? Did your father take this?
Yeah, my father actually, he was a research scientist for Sandoz Pharmaceuticals for years, but he also had a love of the arts as well. And he really got into photography and portraiture and things like that. So our family, thankfully, has a huge body of photographs. We used to sit around watching slideshows and the slide carousels on the screen. So both, actually, my mom as well has taken a lot of pictures. So I have to thank my dad and my mom for all these family photos here.
That's a very good photo. You know, Sandoz is where they created LSD.
I do. I know. It's pretty weird.
Yeah. Let's look at another one. So that's you. Look at that. Oh.
With the crazy yellow wallpaper.
And the shag carpeting. What color was the shag carpeting?
We had a bunch of different shag carpets in the house, and that one I think had some like orange, burnt orange color in there.
Total 70s color.
Yeah.
We had gold shag.
I think we had some gold shag too.
I miss shag carpeting, actually. There's something very nurturing and womb-like about shag carpeting.
It does have, it's got some charm to it.
Yeah, let's take another gander here. So that's the house you grew up in?
That's the house.
It almost looks like a vacation home or something, right?
And wait, I mean, it probably had that feel because the lake, it used to be a resort town, Bud Lake, and so it might have. I mean, it's a bi-level, but it definitely, I could see where it would kind of be resorty.
So what is the connection between you and Bud Lake and your genealogy?
Well, it's really weird because my folks both grew up in different states and their families didn't know each other, but they all seemed to gravitate to the same areas of the Northeast. And oddly, within the last, I guess it's been 5 or 6 years now, I discovered that Bud Lake was actually named for a direct ancestor of mine. And
Really?
they were a prominent family that settled not only Bud Lake, but a lot of the Northeast, Connecticut, Massachusetts. So that was weird to find out that we moved to a place. I mean, I asked my parents, like, why did you move to Bud Lake? And they're like, oh, well, we heard it had a really good school system and it was a nice, quiet town. It seemed safe. But they didn't know. They didn't know we had.
That's wild.
Yeah, so that was strange for me. And not only was it the Bud family on my mom's side, but also my dad's side had moved to that area too, within a mile or so, way back, like I think 1700s or so, 1800s.
Wow. So Bud is your mother's maiden name?
No, it's not, but it's it's some generations back.
Okay.
And it's interesting because I don't know if you're familiar with Harold Budd, the composer.
I actually interviewed Harold Budd one time.
You did? Oh my gosh, this gets even weirder.
Yeah.
He was a cousin of mine.
Harold Budd was a trip.
I can imagine.
Yeah. He for people that aren't familiar with Harold Budd, kind of a multi-instrumentalist, but played piano, some synthesizer, a few other instruments. And he did this one record on EG, which was Brian Eno's record, was part of this whole kind of fourth world music that Eno was exploring.
Was it the Pearl?
Pavilion of Dreams.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep.
And he told me a really interesting story because for me, Pavilion of Dreams, which has a very Eastern feel to it, right? Like the music from Asia, very mystical.
Yeah.
And I asked him about it because it was one of those records where if I wanted to feel spiritual, right, I would put it on and listen because it would just take me there. And he said, yeah, there wasn't anything really spiritual about it. It was kind of a lark, you know? He says, I was actually almost making fun of the genre.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, that's fascinating. like you could take the piss out of it and create something that's really beautiful, you know? And the Pearl, I think, came right after that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another beauty too. It's one of my favorites.
So you're related to Harold Budd?
Yeah, distantly. I think he was like a 7th removed cousin or something, but I found it shocking because I've always been a Cocteau Twins fan, and that's how I discovered him and Brian Eno and all that. And I was just like, what?
So a quick Harold Budd story. He was in the Army, and he became friends with Albert Ayler when Albert Ayler was also stationed at the same fort that he was. And Albert Ayler is one of the great, crazy outside jazz sax players. Right?
No, I was trying to think of, I couldn't really place the name, but that makes sense to me.
So he and Albert Ayler had a band when Harold Budd was in the Army, and they both hadn't become Harold Budd and Albert Eiler yet. So, it's weird, these connections that happen along the way.
It
And
is.
yeah.
I
And
sorry.
no, I was
I'm all
just
excited.
their music couldn't be so different, because Albert Eiler is like really frenetic and kind of like Ornette Coleman, So that's really fascinating. Let's take a look at this.
Another weird thing is I had become sort of, I wouldn't say we're not good friends, but we're friendly. Warren DeFever of His Name is Alive from 4AD.
Oh yeah.
And he
Yeah.
worked with Harold, and he told me a bit about him and how he was pretty reclusive and kind of weird, like you're saying, like just, oh yeah, that wasn't, you think one thing and then it's totally something else.
Yeah, I'm like, man, this guy must have been meditating and really soaking in the culture. And he's like, nah. It was like, I just wanted to take the piss out of the genre. It's like, that's a pretty good piss. Actually, that's so funny. And His Name is Alive, somewhere from the Midwest, right? Like Iowa or Nebraska or
Livonia in Michigan.
Michigan, and winds up on 4AD. Great label, by the way. Iowa.
Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
label. Very interesting. So this is the road leading to your house. Did this get developed more?
Oh yeah. It filled up with houses, and then they made another development behind that, and I think it's gone even further. It's all built up now.
Yeah. So I had a similar experience. We moved to San Jose, California, when I was 9 years old. And when we moved there, it was very, very rural. It was an ag town, and we were surrounded by walnut trees and plum trees and apricot trees.
Wow.
And I thought, and we were one of the first subdivisions in this area. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is great. We moved to the country. And then like 5 years later, it looked nothing like that. And you had that experience. What was that like for you, moving to a place which is very kind of rural, and all of a sudden all these houses popped up? Was that kind of confusing or exciting, or what was that like?
No, I mean, honestly, a lot of those houses got built around the same time my folks were building the house.
Yeah.
So it was kind of gradual, but it did, we called it the development behind us when they started branching off back there. So I found that to be unusual. And I've had a lot of strange dreams of that area, because I spent a lot of time back there with my friends. There was they called it a crater. I don't know why, some little pond that was allegedly a crater that filled up with water. So we would all go back there, and there were a lot of dirt roads because they were starting to build more into the neighborhood there. But it took a long time for them to fill it in with houses. So we would go back and ride bikes through there. And it felt like a kind of a magical place, because there was still a lot of woods, forests, and it was kind of a playground for us kids to imagine. We'd build like little tree houses.
Yeah. Stuff that people don't do anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was cool.
I want to focus on this one paragraph here. The 1970s were a time of vibrant tackiness. Jiffy Pop popcorn, Twinkies, and super elastic bubble plastic from Whammo were everywhere. Sports socks were hiked to the knee, and roller skating at the local rink was the pinnacle of cool. Every house was dressed in loud colors, clashing patterns that kept the shag carpets company. Your jewelry is a statement. Most of your pieces tend to be big, and I would say loud without being raucous. I mean, so we've got this ring that you made for me, and and your latest piece that you may not have been your latest, but a recent one, which you displayed over on Twitter, and it's like this giant was it crystal, and like really a statement, right? Like, do you feel like in some ways, like the 70s and how everything was kind of big and bold and borderline, and I wouldn't call your art kitschy, but borderline kitschy. Do you think that that somehow influenced your art in some ways?
That's interesting. I don't think I've ever thought of that, but I think there is something to that, because there was a different quality to everything back then that seemed to have, I mean, I don't like to always use the word whimsy, but there was something whimsical about, and kind of almost slapstick about the patterns and the color combinations and some of the boldness going on. So I could see that it probably did have some kind of influence. And I have to say, when the ice cream truck would come around the neighborhood,
the ice cream
all
truck.
the stuff, they had those giant ring pops. With the big candy faceted stone, but it was candy on a ring.
Right. Yeah. I remember those.
That was like one of my favorite things to get. So it's probably hearkening back to that a little bit.
That's interesting. Even the ice cream truck, that's gone.
Yeah, there's a few. Like when I lived in Chicago, there was one in the summer, but they're pretty, they're almost extinct, I would say.
The coolest thing was you begin to hear the music, right, of the ice cream truck. and you tried to figure out how far away is it. Right.
If you have time to scrape up your allowance money.
Exactly. Do I have enough time to get 25 cents together?
Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So one of the things that I used to do, and I would always get in trouble for it, is when everybody was getting their, like I would get my ice cream first or whatever, and then people would be in line. And so the ice cream truck person, it was always kind of weird, right? They were different. Let's be honest, right?
Special people.
Yeah. And so I would position myself on the bumper because I had those big bumpers on the back. And I would wait for the ice cream man to take off. So I would ride on the truck. and somehow the ice cream man would figure out I got somebody on the back. And all of a sudden the brakes would stop and get the hell off there.
That's hilarious.
So this is a family photo right here?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was my mom or dad that took the photo, but that's my brother and I laying on our crazy carpet with our huge TV. We had that TV for years, like decades, until it just was barely working anymore.
That looks like Abbott and Costello.
Yep, it was.
God, this is great. I love this.
Thank you. I thought, this is part of my life, and it was all really interesting, cool stuff to me. So I thought I would throw it in there because it's a time that's gone.
Yeah. And that TV, by the way, that was fucking state of the art back then.
My dad has always loved his electronics. So he just turned 84 and he has more equipment. He's all into the digital and the tech. He amazes me.
What's his sign?
He's a Libra.
A Libra. So there's also an aesthetic value and quality to everything.
Yeah.
As well. That is so cool. That's your big bro.
Yep, that's him.
Yeah. Look, and you've got your foot touching his leg.
Yep.
Looks like you've been outside with those socks too.
I know. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm surprised my mom allowed that. She's pretty meticulous with keeping things clean and all that. So I was like, oh, I must have gotten away with it that day.
Yeah, well, you were the young one. So this is a lake. Did you get into like lake activities, boating, fishing, swimming? Was this a big part of your life?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's definitely we did a lot of ice skating there, and my dad built a canoe from a mail order kit, which is
Oh,
really
wow.
and we would go canoeing quite a bit. I don't know if we went swimming a lot, but I've never really liked water, like deep water,
Uh-huh.
dark water. So I probably just waded in the shallow parts, but we definitely did a lot of ice skating in the wintertime there.
Oh, right. It would get cold there and it would freeze over, huh?
Yep, and we had ice boats too.
Wow, that is such a cool childhood.
It was fun.
And Morris County, that's my birth name,
I
right?
know.
That's
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 another interesting thing.
that's another interesting sync. All right, what else we have here?
Yeah, you
Uh,
can see the ice boats in the background there.
so that's with your mom, looking very stylish there. What's her sign?
She's a Sag.
Sag and Libra get along pretty well together. Yeah. So did you experience like your mother's kind of Sagittarian playfulness and
Oh
adventuresomeness?
yeah, she's still like that. She's still like just super curious about everything. And she loves just talking to strangers. She'll just pick up a conversation with somebody at the store. She's very outgoing that way.
Now, what is going on with this structure here right below it?
That's an interesting thing. I can't remember all the history of that, although I do know the Knights of Columbus had something to do with it at one point. I can't remember if they actually built it, but it ended up being a playhouse, and it's still there. Pac Amicus. It's a mini castle on the lake.
It almost looks kind of Tartarian.
It's really. I mean, I didn't even think about it until I started looking back at the Bud Lake stuff for the book. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, that's right. And I'm like, yeah, that does. I wonder what is really going on there because I have researched quite a bit into the Tartaria stuff, and yeah, it looks like it could be.
This looks like just such a rich childhood.
It was pretty
And,
good.
and this is back but this is before your time, I'm
Oh
assuming.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's I think from the early 1900s when it was a resort town. And interestingly enough, Jackie Gleason lived there for a time and performed there at some of the nightclubs and casinos. So he was like the claim to fame of the town.
Jackie Gleason was a very interesting character.
Yeah.
He Jackie Gleason wound up doing LSD later in his life, and he and Groucho Marx did this movie called 23 Skidoo, and it was a kind of an outgrowth of both of them doing LSD.
I haven't
And
seen that.
and Jackie Gleason was a big ufologist as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. And he was good friends with Nixon, and he had the UFO house up in Westchester, New York.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
very. And there was a time when Jackie Gleason kind of ruled Hollywood, right? Like he was a really big. And the thing about the honeymooners, which I really respected Jackie Gleason about, the honeymooners, people don't realize this. It only lasted one season.
Oh, I didn't realize that either. It seems like a show that just goes on forever, like
Right?
reruns.
Right?
Yeah.
But it was one. It
That's
was one. It
interesting.
was one season, and for him, it was an artistic expression, and he didn't want to keep doing it over and over again. And it was like I respected the hell out of that. And what else we have
Yeah.
here?
Looks like he was done with it.
So that's a mountain park. And what is so? Did people like go tobogganing there and sledding there?
Yeah. Yep. We went there. There was a big hill near the lake or the pond, whatever it is. They had paddle boating, and you could rent canoes, and there was a lot of activity in the winter with the ice skating and the tobogganing, and It's a beautiful place. The odd thing about that was that we were going there on a regular basis, and my dad never knew that he had direct ancestors that had settled there from Connecticut, and they were called the Culverites, and they branched off from the Rogerines. Like they're all kind of a weird religious sect that came over from England. And
How would you describe them?
I don't know much about them. There is not a lot of information on them, but they had some strange spiritual practices, and they seem to have picked this location for the natural springs and thinking it had some kind of power that would amplify their spiritual practices. That's a little bit about it that I know.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what else we have. So this is more not being very introverted there.
No, I was kind of a ham up until a certain age, and then it changed.
Yeah, that's a cute picture. And of course, the building of the snowmen.
many. We had a lot of snow in that area back then, and I remember being very young, and the blizzard of '76 came through, and the snow was, I mean, it was just piled up way high over the top of cars, and it took days to plow the neighborhood out. We had a lot of snow, and we used to build little igloo cave things in the mounds, and my brother had an elaborate sledding track in the backyard because we had just a slight hill. So he would carve out this sort of slide down the backyard and then take the hose and run the water so
freeze it up.
Yeah.
What does your brother do?
He's an architect.
So he was already showing signs of moving earth.
Yeah, he's always building stuff.
So that's Dad right there?
That's my dad in his boat, in his canoe that he built.
That's looking pretty cool.
He looks kind of, like some of the clothes that he wore, he looked like a rock star. He had the big choppy sideburns and always the cool sunglasses on.
He's got a bit of a Jack Nicholson vibe there.
Yeah, I could see that.
He was also from New Jersey, by the way.
Yep.
And we got that's you blowing some bubbles.
That's me.
Who didn't love bubbles?
I don't know. I loved them. Especially, I got really into those plasticine. You get the little straw and the little tube of
I used to do that stuff too.
Crap. And then it blows a bubble in like colorful swirls, and
it's all psychedelic shit. Yeah,
breathing in some toxic chemical. Yeah.
I love that. I love that stuff. Yeah. Did you ever have the Whammo bubble wand?
Yeah. Yep.
With
the big giant bubble solution. Yeah.
Oh, look at that. That's cute. That's an adorable photo. And then we got more bubbles. More bubbles. I was kind of a blowing bubble freak.
I guess I was too. I don't really remember all of that, but I did like it. I remember doing it.
I used to do stuff like I'd blow a bubble and I'd put it in the freezer overnight just to see what would happen. And I would fill my bubbles in my mouth with water. I was very into the bubble.
Well, you had that too, because you would blow them up and then, kids would throw them at each other.
Now, what the hell happened here? Are you in the hospital?
Yeah. When my mom started working again after I was old enough, there was a neighborhood daycare down the street from us.
Yeah.
And I apparently, I don't know what the circumstances were, but I was taking a nap in the ladies' bed. And apparently I wet the bed, even though I wasn't known to be a bedwetter. And For me, my whole life, my memory of that was me just falling out of bed and breaking my leg and jumping around on one leg, crying.
Oh,
That's my memory of what I had happen. But just in the last, I think like 3 or 4 years, my parents told me what really happened. And the woman was so angry with me. She grabbed me out of bed and took me to the bathroom and threw me down on the tile floor, and it broke my femur bone.
because you wet the bed?
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah, I probably did, but yeah, that she was very angry and she threw me around and broke my leg.
Is this where the introversion starts to come into play a little bit?
Probably, I would say.
That's pretty traumatic.
Yeah, and I don't remember a whole lot about it. I remember being in, you could see in the next photo, I was in a half body cast for months. I spent, I think it was 5 weeks in the hospital. And then when I was out, I was in this body cast.
Somebody's not looking too happy there.
No. No. So, yeah, I think that's where things started to change a bit for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do a few more here.
Okay.
So now you're the confirmation bride. How old are you here? 11? 11 says.
I think so, even though I look smaller to me there, but I think so. Yeah, it's I had quite a weird experience with religion in my childhood, which seemed normal, but it was kind of weird for me because my folks raised us Catholic. And I find out now, years later, that that was really just to give us some kind of moral foundation. They didn't actually really truly practice, although they had us go through all the motions. And I ended up leaving the first daycare. Like, the lady left town after she broke my leg. So I ended up with this other family, and they were Presbyterian, and they were constantly taking me to all of their church functions and events. And so there was that was confusing for me because it's different from Catholicism. And then my brother, when he went off to college in the Bible Belt, he converted to fundamental Baptist. And so he was trying to kind of influence the family, I'll say, into getting into that, and was taking me to his church at those functions. So I was kind of like, what's going on here with all this?
Is he still like super Baptist religious?
Not like he was.
Yeah.
He's still religious, and we get along well now. We can appreciate each other and agree to disagree and have our own viewpoints, but he's definitely not as kind of fanatic as he was back then.
And then how old are you here? This is one of your first Halloweens or something like that?
Yeah, I think I might be like 4 or 5. I don't really know. But my mom always came up with creative costumes with me, so that was one of them.
Well, you fit right in the South with that one.
I know. But back then, people were, at least where we live, we weren't really thinking that way.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. This is so much fun. Now, what is this?
Oh, well, so back then I started having these reoccurring nightmares. And one of them was, it took place in the daycare house, the new people, the new family's house, in the dream, where I was with all the other kids in their rec room. And then it would be black and white too, which was unusual because I primarily dream in color and always have. But this one dream would show up as black and white, and I would hear something down the hallway and turn and look, and there would be this monster coming towards us all that was made. I called it the fabric monster because it was made of like patchwork of fabric and yarn and thread and buttons, and it would come and, you know, terrorize us all. And I would watch it kill all the kids, and then I would wake up.
And so did you actually make the fabric monster? Is this what you did?
Oh, this is a like a digital drawing I did of it, but I never actually constructed it.
That sounds very Jungian. You know, Carl Jung used to have those dreams, and those like very heavy, dark, shadowy dreams where he confronted evil, and this is when he was young, and it set him off on his journey to, you know, encounter the shadow. That's very archetypal in a lot of ways. Did you ever come to some realization of what this meant to you?
No, oddly, no. I mean, I have had a lot of, I'm pretty well known for just being a crazy dreamer. And I've had a lot of dark nightmares, night terrors, and have encountered some other sort of reoccurring creatures, archetypes, and things like that, where I can now, as an adult, look at it and kind of figure out what's going on. But back then, I still don't really know why that was happening or where it was coming from, but it was after I broke my legs. So it could be something.
Ooh.
So I don't know, honestly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then here's the young artist at work.
Yep. Always at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
With the crazy wallpaper and the curtains are like a rusty, weird woven fabric.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, we don't want to give away the entire PDF.
Yes. Thank you. But
sure.
I enjoyed
it. It's a good trip down memory lane, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the PDF became available today, right?
Yes, the PDF is available, and the ebook became available today. And I put the link to all the links to all the different versions. There's the hardcover, softcover, PDF, and ebook. All those links are in my link tree at the top, so people can go and buy them there. The PDF and the 2 physical copies are available.
Physical books too. Good.
Those are available on the website as well. I just have different links. People can, because not everyone can use PayPal or wants to use PayPal, so I've come up with some other links too.
Right. I don't mind PayPal, but we had a bit of a falling out. So it's okay. That's all right. All right. Now that so you're in a new process with this, obviously. The first process was actually doing it and putting it all together. What was that like for you as you were going through this? And did you have some of the same recurring dreams that you had when you were a child? And because it's all part of the mix. What was that like for you?
It was pretty challenging in the beginning. Like, I got a good head start. And it felt overwhelming because I haven't written a book before. So for one thing, there's that, just feeling like, oh my gosh, how do I put this together? How do I structure this? And, I kind of did some poking around online, and I have a good friend who was in publishing, and she told me, well, make an outline and try to, sort it out the way you want it to be. So that was okay. But I just going back through things, there are some things that I've been through, but more in my adult life, that have been pretty traumatic. And I've kind of put them in a box on the shelf way back in my mind. So I had to do that. And that was part of the process. And the idea of writing this book was kind of a healing process for me, to actually force myself to take a look at these things, to work through them. So in the beginning, when I started writing and it was weird because I get dribs and drabs from different sections of my life, different time periods, and write down notes to compile later. And I actually had to stop for, I think, about 3 weeks. I was like, just hit a wall because I was like, whoa, this is way more intense than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, yeah.
But I had already, the way I work, I kind of put things out publicly as I'm working on them because I feel like it gives me, it holds me accountable for what I'm doing to follow through. Because in my early years, I was really, I just couldn't seem to finish a project. Like I would get into something and like it and go that direction and never really follow through to a finished product. And that changed a lot for me in adulthood. And I've really become disciplined with a lot of things. But so I do that. I put it out in the world because I
Yeah, you're doing that on Twitter or X, showing people what you're working on.
Yeah. So that was kind of an impetus for me to, okay, I know this is really difficult, but we're going to have to just keep on trucking and get through it. And I did. I finally pushed through the barrier and it just was all coming out. So I'm really grateful that I was able to get it together and put it together.
And do you have another book coming too as well?
Suddenly, I mean, once I started writing this book, which I may do a sequel to, because I kind of cut it off in Chicago. And there's more that's happened since then, but I felt like it's too close to home right now, and it's a lot of reading for people. So I will probably do forward time in the future to go along with this book. But I have another book. It's called Waking Up: The Amnesia Effect, and that is going to be more about my dreams and sort of astral travel stuff and whatever nighttime weirdness goes on.
Right. So the whole astral travel thing is a trip. It's really a trip. Let's compare notes.
Okay.
So I started astral travel when I was 20, I think. And it started with sleep paralysis and kind of freaking out with the sleep paralysis. And when I would wake up in the sleep paralysis, I would see things that were not friendly.
I can relate.
One of the most horrific things that I saw was this giant yawning mouth.
Oh my gosh.
At the end of my bed.
Oh, wow.
And it was attached to a head, and it had two very small eyes, no nose, and it was kind of round and bulbous, and this giant yawning mouth at the end of my bed. And that was freaky. And I mean, I remember another time there was some strange armadillo-like creature running across my bed.
Oh my God.
And so this went on for maybe a month or two, 3 months or so. And then I had this very strange experience. I had this class with Robin Gaduzek at San Francisco State. And Robin was one of the preeminent Hemingway scholars on the planet. And so it was 5 days a week with Robin and Hemingway. And Robin's son, Robert, became the producer for Stranger Things.
Oh, wow.
And Robert's brother was a co-winner of the Nobel Science Prize, because he discovered Kuru disease in New Guinea. but he also wound up bringing back a bunch of young New Guinean boys, and like they all wound up testifying that he molested them.
Oh gosh.
And so there's this weird thing going on, right, with missing children and Stranger Things and the producer. So Robin's brother wound up going to, I believe, Norway, basically to get away from the charges, right?
Oh.
But he was also a scientist, right? He was he probably would have won the Nobel Prize on his own if there wasn't the weirdness around him, right?
Mhm.
So of course Norway's going to take him in. We're going to get a Nobel Prize winner here, right? So the reason I'm bringing this up is because I was getting this heavy duty dose of Hemingway, right? And I have this dream where there are these lions in my dream, and I feel this, and it's like I get struck on the head in my bedroom.
Oh my gosh.
And I have this realization that it's Hemingway. Hemingway is hitting me in the head and I remember, curling up into a fetal position. And I think it might have been a week after that where, going through the sleep paralysis, I astral project and I leave my body. And I found out later on that Hemingway was, he couldn't sleep at night, right? Like he had a fear of sleeping because when he was in Spain with the Red Cross during the Spanish Civil War, he got wounded and he was saving somebody from the front lines, and he had an out-of-body experience.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And so that freaked him out so much that he was an insomniac, right? And I'm like, holy shit. So Hemingway did have out-of-body experiences. And there was maybe one or two times where I got comfortable with leaving through my third eye. Did you ever get comfortable with it so that you could float around and go places?
Not really, not much at all. And it happened. I don't have sleep paralysis very often anymore, but I did for decades. Started when I was about 15.
Yeah.
And that's when I had the first sort of out of body experience back then. And it only got worse for a period of about 20 years. It just got really dark, and I don't know. I did learn I had sort of a superpower when I was in that state where I could start leaping and bounding and flying around, and I could blast things with an energy wave kind of thing going on.
Right. Yeah.
As I got older and got more fed up with the whole situation, I started getting some control, but it was never really a positive experience for the most part.
Well, I think it was a test for me to get through that kind of lower astral. And once I got through it, I started to see other things that were not horrific. I remember I woke up out of the sleep paralysis, and at that time I was at my grandparents' house. We were doing a multifamily living thing. I was in my 20s, maybe 22, 23. And I remember waking up, and they had this tree next to the room I was sleeping in, and I could see the electrical currents of life running through that tree. And it was like, holy shit, this tree is alive in a way that I've never seen before. And eventually the horrific fourth dimensional stuff went away, and it was just all about leaving the body. And I was talking with Joan last night, and I actually I actually kind of miss that part of it now because it hasn't happened in years. And I'd like to revisit that now because I think I would have a very different experience.
Yeah.
And some of them turned out to be very positive, just in terms of. But like, what do you do? Like, I remember one time. Okay, it sounds funny, but one time I was stoned. Okay, and I was staying at this guy's place, and there was this woman who was staying in the guest cottage there, and we had become friends. And she came in to the house, and I had been high listening to classical music, just and not really in a good place, right? But like I was trying to like deal with my state of being, and we wound up rolling around on the floor, right, and doing an adult thing. And right when it was over, I left my body and I'm looking down on the two of us, like I'm on the ceiling looking down. Right? I'm like, holy shit, there we are, And this is not metaphorical, by the way. And then I came back into my body and I told her, and I said, "Did you leave your body?"
She's like, what?
It was good, but it wasn't that good. No, it was like, I said, I left my body. I was, and I'd done it before, but it was almost immediate. And I was up there in the ceiling, right? Just looking down. I'd like really be into that now, because I think a lot of us want to leave our bodies, right?
Exactly. Get me out of here.
Because the density of this place is getting to be a little bit much at times.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Aaron has a question. I'm going to bring this up here.
Okay.
Were you a gate kid, gifted and talented ED?
That's very interesting, because I do touch on that in the book a little bit, where I do remember being tested I had a best friend back then, and we both were tested. We were separated from the other kids and brought into a room with just a table and a chair. And we were shown the different cards, like the ink blot cards and the psychic, I forget what we call it, something.
They're called Zener cards.
That's the one. And I had a hearing test with big headphones with tones playing, which didn't seem like I had a lot of hearing tests as a kid, but I remember some of them being very bizarre, and also being told to drink pink liquid, both my friend and I. And my friend was offered, her mother was offered to send her to some kind of special academy in the area. I don't know if that happened for me, but I wasn't in an official gifted and talented for whatever reason back then, but I did have the weird testing going on. So I know they did that at our school for sure.
Yeah, that was pretty popular back then. And you were near Sandoztown too.
Close. Yeah, we were a little bit further out, but there were a lot of weird things in that area. Like I do talk about my uncle, my great uncle, who ended up doing subcontracted work for NASA and later SpaceX and others, secret projects through the military. And we were pretty close by to Picatinny Arsenal, and they were busing the kids back and forth to Picatinny for whatever reason, like examinations and things back in the war. So I don't know what was going on in my little town, but I do think there were definitely some programs.
Yeah. I think they were populating lots of places and lots of schools across the country at that time. And it was really like the 70s where it starts to take off.
Yeah. Yeah. And the township, Mount Olive Township, was partially funded, like the school system was funded by the Oppenheims, which,
I saw that there was a little,
yeah.
yeah.
And there were several academies in the area. There's very little information on what those academies were for, and they're all gone. I think there's like one sort of schoolhouse structure left.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of Stranger Things material.
It is. It's weird. I'm still kind of digging into things, but
Yeah.
and it's strange because the Nixon connection, like Nixon had a house in New Jersey,
Yeah,
and
he did. I remember that.
yeah, and what was I gonna say? I totally lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Just it's weird because there were a lot of like ferromagnetic industries in that area. People don't realize how much New Jersey has been tied into the whole space aeronautics industry. There's a lot of iron ore in New Jersey, and in particular in the area that I grew up in. So,
Interesting.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it all ties together, but there's
Well, iron ore would be really magnetic.
yeah, there's magnetite, a lot of magnetite in the area,
Yeah.
and a lot of ferromagnetic materials that they were using for the aeronautic stuff.
Interesting. So are you a Halloween person?
I used to be. I don't think so anymore. I mean, I like it. I've got my little pumpkins and stuff, and there's not going to be any trick or treaters around here because it's all people 50s and up.
So you're not going to go to the senior center tonight and
No.
dress up?
Nah.
How's your pickleball skills?
I have never played, but there's a lot of that here.
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is. Well, JJ, this has been absolutely delightful and touching in with you and your life and your book. And I hope people
Thank you.
purchase it and it acts as a creative stimulus for them to look at their own lives and journey backwards and put as many of the pieces together that they have. Do you have so? Some people have very little memory of their childhood, but yours is mostly intact, right?
It's a little better now. I went through a period of time after being in a traumatic dynamic for 11 years, a very abusive dynamic where I used to be very sharp. I used to remember a lot from my childhood, pretty much everything. I
Yeah.
was a weirdo. I could remember if someone would call for my brother while he was away at college, I would remember their phone number for like forever for whatever reason. I had kind of a little bit of a photographic memory that way for certain things. But when I went through that experience, a lot of my childhood completely dissolved, and I didn't remember a whole lot of like big chunks of time. But it is coming back to me, and that was part of doing this book, was to remember things, or review things. And I really do hope that this book helps people with whatever they may be going through that's unresolved for them, or just to feel not alone in their experiences.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's and it's creative and artistic, and we need more of that. We live in a world that's become just so transactional, and I think you're doing great work just in
Thank
terms
you.
of your jewelry and staying in touch with other artists and promoting their work as well. And this has been wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it.
So when you have your next book, we'll have you back on.
All right, that sounds good. The goal is to get it out probably by like the spring of 26.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right.
Some things in life happen, so I'm given some leeway there. But my goal for having this book done was November, and I just made it. So
Tom got your website. It's ReineDeBlancBrand.com. And that link is also in the description of the show. And can they find your book through your website as well?
The soft cover and the hardcover, as well as the PDF, are on there. It's
Okay.
in my everything's in my linked tree. That's actually the best link for everything. But because the ebook, I didn't want to go through Amazon if I can avoid it. So I'm using the publisher Lulu for the ebook. So the link to the ebook is in my LinkedIn right now. I'll
Okay.
try to get it into the website somehow, but I don't want to confuse anybody.
You're going to do an audiobook?
Oh, I don't think so. I'd
Maybe,
like to, but
maybe get Susan Sarandon to narrate it.
that would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be cool. All right, JJ, we'll let you go. I know you're super busy and you got your own creative stuff going on. Am I your first interview for the book?
You are.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
It's been really nice.
All right. Well, we'll catch up more than likely online, but take care of yourself and enjoy your time with your parents.
Thank you, Robert. You take care too.
All right. There she goes. The
Thanks
great,
again. Bye.
the great JJ Reine De Blanc. And with that, we're gonna end the show. Don't forget True Hemp Science, another sponsor, 15MINS. That's your code to get the goodie bag when you spend $100 or more and get the best CBD that you can find online or offline. And there are plenty of people in chat who will confirm what I'm talking about. This is not just hyperbole. It is finely crafted and synthesized material. And Chris has even gone so far as to do special blends for people. So if you become a good customer, you will get white label service. And very few places will do that for you. So until Sunday night with Sunday Night Astral Live, where we're going to go super astrology heavy. This is Robert Phoenix signing off on Halloween. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the evening. Take care of yourselves. God bless and bye for now.